Climate change presents one of the greatest challenges facing humanity, and greenhouse gases are widely considered to be the primary driver of global warming and climate change. Australia's climate is changing, and the impacts of climate change can be seen in the differences we are experiencing in rainfall, temperature, and extreme weather events. Climate change will influence our actions, choices, and decisions. Climate change possesses challenges for all sectors of the Australian economy, but particularly for those sectors dependent on natural resources, like agriculture. Farming systems produce greenhouse gas emissions, and nearly 15% of Australia's greenhouse gas emissions come from agriculture. Even with our best effort, climate change is likely to have a significant impact on Australian farmers. Along with other industries that emit greenhouse gases, Australian agriculture needs to respond to the challenges of reducing its emissions. If global development continues without effective mitigation of greenhouse gases, the impacts on Australia will be severe. Some of the broader threats to Australian farmers could include the potential loss of revenue for Australian farmers is a big issue. In Australia, the gross value for agriculture commodities is valued at $50 billion. The world is facing a 70% increase in food demand. In 2010, the world's population was 6.8 billion. It is expected to increase to 9 billion by 2050. The increase in food demand is driven by population growth combined with economic development and changes in diet. There are strategies for Australian farmers for mitigating greenhouse gases, and these strategies will support Australian food production. Climate mitigation in the land sector is a win-win for land managers. A number of mitigation actions inform farm management practices, improve productivity, and increase the sector's resilience to a changing climate. Many farmers are engaging in climate change mitigation behaviours. Some of these activities include reduced tillage. This is the farming practice of minimally disturbing the soil or not disturbing it at all. With less carbon making its way into the atmosphere, there is less buildup of greenhouse gas. Nutrient management. Today, farmers are using data science that lets them know just how much fertiliser to use, when and where. This means greater efficiency, less waste, and potentially less use overall, which helps reduce the greenhouse gases that end up in the atmosphere. One practice that has attracted attention as a tool to offset and reduce carbon emissions of greenhouse gases is the manufacture and application to soil of charred biomass, commonly referred to as biochar. Biochar is produced at relatively low temperatures in low oxygen conditions. These factors allow for the thermal breakdown of organic material. This process mirrors the production of charcoal. As a source of energy, biochar distinguishes itself from charcoal. Biochar enhances soil and reduces carbon output. Sustainable biochar is a powerful and simple tool for fighting global warming, a soil enhancer that holds carbon and makes soil more fertile, reduces agricultural waste, and produces clean, renewable energy. This practice converts agricultural waste into a soil enhancer that can hold carbon, boost food security, increase soil biodiversity, and discourage deforestation. The process creates a fine-grained, highly porous charcoal that helps soil retain nutrients and water. Biochar is an important tool to increase food security and cropland diversity in areas with severe depleted soils, scarce organic resources, and inadequate water supplies. The production of biochar and its storage in soils abates climate change. Biochar sequences carbon and simultaneously provides energy to increase crop yields. Biochar is produced from biomass residues that would otherwise have released their carbon into the atmosphere via the carbon cycle. For example, residues such as grapevine clippings or sugarcane stalks are often burnt or left in fields to rot. Instead, these residues are converted into biochar and then placed in the soil where the stable carbon can remain for thousands of years. Biochar is carbon negative. That is, it is a greenhouse gas mitigation strategy. It pulls carbon out of the carbon cycle and places it into long-term soil carbon pools. Climate change presents serious problems for Australian farmers, and effective strategies mitigating greenhouse gas emissions will reduce the impacts of climate change. Incorporating biochar into agricultural practices will not only reduce greenhouse gas emissions and mitigate climate change, but will also improve soil quality and increase production for Australian farmers.